The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, you're urged to like and share them on Facebook. It's time now for Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce, across from City Hall in the arcade building, the historic arcade building. And, of course, the show is hosted by the proprietor of Nutrition World. It's Joanne Augusto.
Well, hello, everyone. This is so awesome. We have such a amazing guest today that we are going to pre-record it so we don't miss out on all this awesome information.
This is an again and again one today to listen
Oh, yeah,
to.
we definitely will play it again. So I apologize for any of our usual live callers that love chatting with us, but we'll just have to have you enjoy all this info and call in on another show if you have a question about it. So we will also be skipping the breathing exercise today, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing it on your own each and every day. That's awesome. Yes, so please remember to do your breathing exercise and drinking your water and all those good healthy tips that we always do each week. And without further ado, so today's guest is David Hargett, and he is the owner of Innovative Nutraceuticals that creates some amazing CBD oil. And David, I wish I knew maybe an eighth of what you know about this subject, so I am going to ask a few basic questions and just kind of if you want to tell us everything and anything that you can tell us over the radio, starting with maybe how you got interested in the topic and your background, I will definitely listen to every word and just interject when I really am curious, okay?
All righty. Sounds good. Ask away. Hopefully I can answer all your questions for you.
Awesome. So how did you get involved with CBD oil? How did your journey begin?
So it originally started in the cannabis industry. I own a cannabis manufacturing company in California, and I built and designed our CO2 machine that we now use for our CBD manufacturing, and we originally started with that machine in the cannabis industry. And then I saw, as I started working with people here in California that had epilepsy and autism and things like that, I started doing some research and felt that CBD was a key component that needed to be included, not only with cannabis, with THC, but also the medicinal properties of CBD. So I started researching further and decided to go over to Spain and purchase into a farm there that grew industrial hemp and started the manufacturing of hemp products. Everything that we do in THC, we now manufacture in CBD as well. So we could get those medicinal benefits to people that don't have access to cannabis or don't necessarily need the psychoactive properties of cannabis. And then it's also allowed me in California to blend the two ratios of cannabinoid products together to help with certain ailments as well.
Well, David, can you backtrack just a bit? We might have some listeners that have seen the letter CBD or, caught it on the news, but really are not clear the beginning. So you mentioned hemp, which you and I, know lots about hemp. Can you explain to them, like, the difference where hemp comes, like that hemp is, and then CBD? Like, how does it go from that to the other?
Yeah, so cannabis and hemp are basically the same exact plant. They just have a different genetic makeup. And most cannabis plants are bred to be high in the psychoactive compound THC. And then industrial hemp has usually been found common to have higher traces of CBD. And it's not necessarily true in all varieties of industrial hemp, because a lot of hemp is used for pressing the seed. It's used for fiber to make rope and textiles. So just now in the last couple of years, through different genetic breeding, industrial hemp has now, certain varieties have come up through breeding that are now higher in CBD, which is a cannabinoid that works with the endocannabinoid system that does not have a psychoactive property like THC.
So when you mention that, that's so you get the benefits of someone that was maybe smoking marijuana but without the high.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I think everyone's probably clear on that. And David, I consumed hemp oil and hemp hearts and all those things, trying to get superfood nutrition into my diet for years. And so, I am curious, when did exactly the CBD without the THC movement begin? How long has that whole movement been out, going on?
We've been in it since about 2014, but I want to say somewhere maybe around 2012, 2013. I think some of the first companies started coming forward with high CBD products, but honestly, I'm not 100% sure when the entire movement started. But we were in it about 2014, 2015, and then now it's just taken off like crazy.
Yeah, it's insane now. It's insane. It's like every day I'm pretty much spending 4 to 5 hours a day explaining CBD and all its benefits. And I love it because I've been doing this for a really long time, and it's nice when you have something that's safe and effective for pretty much all consumers. So
Yep.
Now I was really impressed when I read your bio, not only about where you source out your hemp, but also your extraction method. Can you, because I would tell all my consumers that I waited 2 years before I brought in CBD because I wanted to make sure it was clean and reputable companies that weren't just pouring hemp seed oil in their garages into bottles. Can you tell me why one morning you woke up and said, you know what, I'm going to go further with this. I'm going to go to Spain and get the right stuff. I'm going to do the right extraction. I'm not going to put the bad stuff in it. What are you a health food hippie, or what made you want to be so, in lots of integrity and good choices about the topic?
I'm definitely health conscious. I eat all organic and as healthy as I can possibly be. And really it all stemmed from the cannabis industry side of things. My company started going to these High Times Cannabis Cup festivals, and all these different vendors and companies were there. They were claiming they were solvent-free, and they had all these terpenes, and they had no additives, and they used no chemicals in their manufacturing process. But me being a healthy person and knowing that if that were true, they would have a piece of analytical data from a third-party lab to back up their claims on their big posters. So I started going to these events, and I started asking these manufacturers, okay, you say you're solvent-free. Do you have a lab test that proves that before I put this product into my body and I ingest it? And what I found out, the consensus was pretty much no person who advertised solvent-free and made all these outrageous, great claims if they were actually true, none of them actually had lab data to back it up. So I started thinking there's got to be an opportunity here. If all these people are doing a ton of smoke and mirrors and the public isn't aware of it, as the public becomes more educated, more concerned about their health, they're going to start debunking some of these other manufacturers and finding out that what they're saying isn't actually true. And if I were actually doing those things, had a third-party lab test to back up what I was saying, my product would stand out in the market, and we would be able to help a ton of people while actually making true claims. So I went over to Spain after talking to my attorney and understanding the hemp laws in the federal government's eyes, and it states to be federally legal, it has to be imported from out of country. So I went to Spain to purchase hemp to import into the United States, and then I took it a step further as I started researching extraction equipment. There's kind of an industry standard that people use butane, hexane, propane, or alcohol, and then I came across CO2, where I thought, wow, CO2, we're using carbon dioxide, that's safe, it's what we exhale, it's not a hydrocarbon solvent. That would be a great product to use. But then when I started researching companies that were manufacturing CO2 machines, every single one of them had a secondary process. It says all clean CO2 extraction, but there was always a process afterwards that utilized a solvent. And I figured there has to be a way to do it without using a solvent. So instead of buying an existing machine through a manufacturer in the States, that was going to tell me how to operate the machine, which is the same way he's told every other customer how to make his machine, to operate his machine, which is to use CO2 first, and then to go back and refine the product with a solvent, I went to the drawing board and to Google and started researching thermodynamics and temperatures and pressures and flow rates and things like that. Decided to build my own system that would not have to use a secondary refinement process, so I could go to the consumer and the market with all third-party lab testing backing up what our company has done, which is manufactured a product using only pharmaceutical-grade carbon dioxide with no secondary processes after the initial extraction.
That's amazing. I am so glad that you're in this industry and these things matter to you, because with my lack of knowledge on CBD itself, my common sense told me that there has to be a way that I can order some clean CBD oil. And it seemed like it was getting more and more difficult versus easier. So I am definitely glad that I found yours. And I am curious, Dave, out of going outside the country, is Spain, what was the reason you chose Spain for their hemp versus any other place?
In all honesty, I had a friend with a connection in Spain that had told me about these guys out there that were farming, that were on the cutting edge of breeding new genetics and things like that, that were young. They're my same age. I'm only 32. And I hopped on a plane probably 3.5 years ago now, almost 4 years ago. Flew out to Spain. I don't speak any Spanish. I had an interpreter. I'd never even been out of the United States before. And hopped on a plane, met with my interpreter in Madrid, took a train down to southern Spain, spent a week there viewing the farm, their genetics, how they did things, and just not only fell in love with the people I'm now doing business with, but also the country, the culture, the people. Spain is absolutely amazing.
Wow,
so
that sounds so
out.
Cool. Oh, my God.
Yeah. My first trip ended up working out perfect, and now that's the farm I'm doing business with now. I go back to Spain regularly.
Well, I was going to say, now it's a business write-off, so how wonderful is that?
Right? I just need to learn to speak Spanish now. That's now the...
Yeah, I'm going to plug Rosetta Stone for that one. I lived a couple summers in Peru, and Rosetta Stone definitely got me through. So that is what an awesome story. All right, so now so you use your extraction method. That's definitely better than others, and you definitely are not putting any solvents in it. How does one get, is it the machine that dictates how many milligrams? So you basically, I love your company because you say you keep more of the terpenes. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Terpenes.
Correct.
It's more of a whole food, more compromising more parts of the hemp. So why did you choose to do that as well? Not just do what everyone else is doing and just isolating just CBD.
Because in the health food industry, and I'm learning more and more about it because I did not come from that side, what I kind of realized the consensus was most products found in a health store are whole plant-based. From now all my trainings going into stores, you usually rarely find a product with an isolated molecule. It could be echinacea, has golden seal and other things in it. Curcumin has other things added to it, so it has better bioavailability with the body. And cannabis and CBD is the exact same way. And I had been doing some research on a product called Marinol, which is basically a synthetic form of THC. And back in the late 80s, a lot of the research that came out about that product was patients were not having the same effects on Marinol as they were with cannabis. And then through research and science, they found out that was because of terpenes. Now, terpenes are scents and flavonoids in plants that give us different medicinal effects. And you can take lavender, for example. Anyone who's used lavender for a calming effect or anti-anxiety, it's not the exact lavender plant that's doing it, but there's a terpene comprised in lavender called myrcene. Now, that same terpene is found in indica cannabis and can also be found in CBD, which gives it an anti-anxiety properties. And that's why we use whole plant medicine. That's why a lot of people use essential oils for different things, and that's because of the terpenes. So I figured if I'm manufacturing a product that, as it's growing from nature, already has these natural occurring compounds in it. The way I'm going to make the purest product possible is to extract all those compounds and leave them in the oil itself. And what I realized is a ton of manufacturers, they do their main extraction, but as soon as they refine the product, because terpenes are measured in what's called a microgram amount, they're very, very small amounts. As soon as they refine their product, those terpenes are gone. And now a lot of clinical studies are being published on PubMed and all over the world now in different universities. And I think Jerusalem last had a study published that a full spectrum oil with all cannabinoids, including minor amounts of THC and terpenes, has a far greater effect than just the isolated molecule of CBD itself.
Boy, Dave, you're totally talking my language. I completely agree with that statement in regards to almost everything I sell. In the 30, well, actually, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive, but
Oh, wow.
yep, I sure have. Oh my gosh. So, all the products that I sell, I always try to get them in their most natural form. And so my synthetic little isolated nutrient section is dwindling every year when my belief system is getting stronger and stronger about using whole food only. The synthetic isolates are like pretty much down to a couple shells. But
Wow.
it's definitely makes sense to me after all these years, after suggesting to people, they come in with their blood tests. Oh, the doctor said I was deficient in this, so I give them that one thing. It never really fixes anything. It never gets them to their goal of, better health or whatever condition they're suffering with. So I am so glad you are looking at it this way, because those things are in that plant for a reason. And I always say we always work better when we keep the family together. And,
Definitely.
so, and I love you. Definitely sound like an extremely educated young man. So I'm definitely grateful for all this knowledge. All right. So you get this great product from Spade. And so now it comes over here and then you extract it?
Yes. It imports through Florida, where it's cleared by customs, and then it's shipped to California, where we extract it in our facility in Lake Elsinore using only pharmaceutical-grade carbon dioxide.
That's awesome. Now, how long is the process between, getting your hemp to your manufacturing facility and making a bottle? Like, is it time? How long does it take?
So from Spain to the United States, it's about 3 to 4 days shipping, so that's fairly quick. Then it goes through customs, which usually takes about a week. And then once we get the product, our machines are very small, so everything we do is in very small craft batches. We put in about 600 grams of hemp material per vessel. We do have multiple vessels, and then an extraction takes roughly about 12 hours. And we pull that oil out of the extraction machine and then move it into what's called a laminar flow hood, which is a sterile air processing environment. It stays in a laminar flow hood for about 24 hours, sometimes 48, depending on the moisture content. When you're doing CO2 extractions, it will extract any excess moisture in the plant material. So we leave it in that laminar flow hood so any emulsified carbon dioxide or moisture is allowed to evaporate. Then once we get that oil, it then has to be sent off to a lab to be lab tested. That usually takes about 3 days or so, and we get a microbial, a pesticide report, as well as a full cannabinoid profile and terpene profile. Then once we have that lab test about 3 days after the extraction, then it gets formulated into a batch of tincture, which usually takes about 4 hours or so. Then we have to draw a sample from that batch, send that back to the lab, wait another 2 or 3 days, get the results back. Usually we have some minor adjustments to do there, which will make our adjustments another couple hours. Then we'll send it back to the lab again, verify our results are right on point with about 5% of our target milligram ratio. And once we get those results, then it's bottled in a matter of a couple hours and then ready to ship out. So the whole process from importing to finished product hitting store shelves is probably about 3 weeks or so.
I really Wow, you're just a very educated man. I love speaking to you. And the reason I want to ask that question is because the question does come up, what's the difference of buying a $20 bottle of supposedly CBD online versus what I have of yours at my store? And that is why I wanted you to let the consumers know and the listeners know the difference, the time, the integrity, the steps, the batch testing, the lab testing, that all these things, will make the cost go up. But I much rather spend more and know what I'm getting and have it work than possibly putting in my body something that not only won't work, but could be harmful. So
definitely. And there's a lot of companies out there that consumers need to be aware that there is nobody really regulating the CBD business. So just because it has a milligram content on the bottle, unless you see a lab report for the bottle you hold in your hand, which is why if you look at the back of our tinctures and all our consumable products, there's a QR code. You can scan that with your cell phone. It'll go directly to an ISO 9001 third-party independent lab, and it'll tell you the exact contents of that bottle, because no one is policing us. 9 times out of 10, the milligram content on the label is not even in that bottle. And I just had that experience. I was just in Florida about 2.5 weeks ago, and I won't mention the supplier's name, but they're in a light blue box, I believe, and they're all over Florida. I went to their website and I clicked on, they have a 1,500 milligram tincture and a 1,000 milligram tincture. And the lab test they posted on their website doesn't even equal 1,500 milligrams of what's in that bottle. I believe it was somewhere around 1,350 or 1,360. So that was proof right to consumers that companies are lying about what's going into their product, and half of them are putting the information right in front of the consumer because they don't know how to read a lab test.
Yes, that's true. And the general information about CBD is confusing to some, and they just hear that it can help them and they go out to buy it. They really don't know any more information than that. And a lot of people like myself, we're on the learning curve, and we're dependent on people like you that can educate us. So I definitely agree that there is a lot to know and a lot to discover, and we might make some mistakes along the way, but definitely trying for at least my store to make the right choices. In about a minute, we're going into break, but I just want to let the listeners know right now we are talking to David Hargett, and he has innovative nutraceuticals, which creates amazing CBD oil and products. I have at the store at NutritionWorld right now. We have the beautiful glass case that he offered us with candies, salves, oil. By the way, I just got to put a shout out that the lavender salve, oh my gosh, that smells so good. I mean, I don't usually need a salve. I don't have those kind of aches, but that you created you can tell you're into essential oils because that stuff smells amazing. So I love that.
We use mountain rose herbs for all of our essential oils. We do everything in very small craft batches, and we can actually only purchase 16 ounces of an essential oil at a time. But from all of our testing of essential oil manufacturers from overseas to locally, we found their products had the highest fragrance, the highest terpene values, and they're certified organic as well.
That's awesome. We definitely are going to touch back on that when we come back from the break, because I just discovered I didn't have my glass on. I thought it said 24, but we have another full minute. So at the store, I just want everyone to know that the second half of the show, we will go over what choice is suitable for you. But if any listeners come into the store and mention the show, you will get 10% off. Normally, we only do 10% off for veterans on the CBD oil, but we will give any of our show listeners that mention David and this show will get 10% off any of his CBD oil. So in just a minute, we will be back with more amazing, exciting information about CBD oil.
Joanne's World of Nutrition will be right back in about a minute. Okay, stand by. I turned the mics back on so we could still talk.
Oh, okay.
'Cause we're in between.
This is so weird to do it like this.
Oh, I'm used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is
Okay.
the first time we've done it, so.
Yeah, okay. Let's do what's this number? 0128T. All right, two. Okay, we'll set the levels and we're ready to get going again.
I'm ready.
All right, stand by as we, let's see, press set levels and press any key to begin the recording. Okay, we're all back at the beginning where we started from. Welcome back to Joanne's World of Nutrition, located on US 1 in Fort Pierce, between Avenue A and Orange Avenue, directly across the street from Fort Pierce City Hall. And of course, back to your host, Joanne Augusto, and her guest, too.
Thank you so much, Cliff. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for sharing your day with me. Today is a really exciting day. We are doing a pre-recorded show with David Hargett. He has innovative nutraceuticals that create amazing CBD oil products. And right before the break, he had gone over the extensive amount of time and research it takes for him to create this oil that stands out from all others. And David, I am glad that we got to this point of the show because I welcomed your little samples that you gave me. And I thought, one, how professional that is, that you're so positive about how great your stuff is that, you make little sizes of each thing. And we do have some set aside for, let's say, about the first 10 listeners that go into the store, those little cute packets that you gave me. And that lip balm, I have to admit, I didn't order it, but that is some amazing lip balm that you also have. And it has a little oil in there, a little salve. Love all of your products. So we did bring in a bunch, but definitely going to bring in more very soon. So
That's why we do those samples, because a lot of times we have so many products, not everyone is sure of what do I order, what do I need. So I love throwing those samples out there because I know as soon as the customer tries the lip balm, or maybe they didn't order the Oba muscle rub, they try a sample and they go, oh my gosh, I have to have this
I know,
product.
yeah. But I have to admit, I've gotten a lot of samples throughout the years, and it sometimes doesn't have that impact because, you don't like either the taste or the feel or the results. And everything that you have, really love it. The candy, yummy, and I can't believe how clean everything is. So now you, for the oil itself, we'll start there because I think that's probably the most popular, at least at my store. There's the 100 milligram and then the 500. And like we mentioned earlier, there are consumers that are comparing it to that last bottle that they got that might have been 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. Can you just touch again how the whole food spectrum part will differentiate from that and still give you the same benefit as, if not better, than those higher doses?
Yes. So there's actually some studies on PubMed, and there was one just released from a university in Jerusalem that showed a full spectrum CBD oil, and not just CBD, but also CBDA, which is when it's in its raw form. You have CBD, CBDA, other minor cannabinoids, including THC, as well as terpenes. Your effects are going to be 2 to 4 times greater than with an isolated product alone. And then what they found out through these studies as well is on an isolated product, you may start seeing results, but as you increase your dose, your results will actually diminish. So that's why we make a 100 and a 500 milligram. We want to start very low, So one serving is going to be about 3.3 milligrams. And I'm finding that helps just about 95% of the people. Very rarely do we have someone step into the 500 milligrams because of all the terpenes as well as the CBD-A and the CBD compared to any other competitor's product in the 1,000 or 1,500 milligram ratio. When I see numbers that high, it definitely goes to tell me it's an isolated product. And if the consumers want to request a lab test from those companies, 9 times out of 10, they're going to see that there is only CBD present, no CBD-A, and no other minor cannabinoids or terpenes, which is why they're selling the product in much higher milligram dosages. But the consumer isn't realizing they can actually find a far more effective oil with much lower milligrams consumed when there is more properties within that oil.
Okay, that's a very easy to understand explanation. The use of the oil, either strength, we have been taught that they put a few drops under their tongue. Is there any other way that you suggest for yours?
No, definitely do a full dropper. I don't know where this whole drop thing came about a long time ago, but definitely do a full dropper. Our droppers on our bottle are calibrated. I may even say start with half a dropper, which would be about 1.6 milligrams of CBD per serving. But definitely do a half dropper to a full dropper under the tongue, hold it for about 10 to 15 seconds, and then swallow. That's the best way. It can also be added to teas and foods and things like that, but when you take it sublingually, you get it into your bloodstream in the most efficient manner.
Okay, that sounds awesome, and I usually tell people to keep it under their tongue as long as possible, but so 10 to 15 seconds you feel will definitely suffice to get it all in?
Yeah, I would say they could go 30 seconds, but I've noticed sometimes when I do that, you have people kind of just standing there and holding their mouth open and things like that. So it's going to get into your system 10 to 15 seconds. You can go 30 seconds. There's not really a time frame on there. I think people need to experiment themselves a little bit and see how they best feel the effects after holding the oil after X amount of time.
Right. So, of course, I get asked on a daily basis, how long will I feel an effect? And, it's almost like they want me to have that magic mirror where, because, I know part of your answer has to be every individual is different, but is there a general sense of when someone can expect results?
So, on a lozenge, usually the effect time is within about 5 minutes. On a tincture, I would say probably about maybe 45 minutes or so, but that all depends on metabolism. If they ate before, there's a whole bunch of different factors that come into play there.
Okay, and you mentioned your candy, which are all really delicious. Why would someone maybe choose the candy versus the oil bottle, or vice versa?
So the lozenge is a really good delivery method because it's a micro-dosing delivery method. If someone takes 10 to 15 minutes to consume that 5 milligrams, that would be like them holding the tincture in their mouth for 15 minutes, which we know is absolutely impossible.
Hey, I've done it.
15, wow, good for you.
I didn't want to waste a penny.
Oh, that's awesome. So it really is about micro-dosing. It's about getting minor amounts of the CBD into your system over a long period of time. Make it the most effective.
Okay, great concept. Okay, and then as far as the vape, now, sometimes people walk in the store and I have your vape pen in my mouth and they're kind of look at me a little puzzled, I must say, because they've definitely never thought that Joanne would ever be smoking anything. I love it, and I have to admit, I don't know if this is your design of the pen or you bought it from someone else, but I love your pens. They are so sleek and pretty.
Thanks. Yeah, we bring those in. They're a standard pen used in the cannabis industry. But the thing I like, if you're talking about the white and black ones, we also have our magnetic with the rose gold and silver. They're just very efficient. It's nothing fancy. I go to the river. I've dropped my vape pen in the water before. It sunk all the way down to the bottom. I picked it up and was able to vape again. They're extremely reliable while being very sleek and discreet. And the vaping, in terms of a medical delivery method, is highly effective, which is why asthma sufferers will use inhalers and things like that, or a nebulizer, because it breaks down the molecular particles to be absorbed into the lungs, into the bloodstream very fast and very efficient.
So, of course, I have to ask, if someone's trying to choose between the oil, the lozenge, and a vape pen, and, if there's no budget restrictions, what would you think they should go for?
So each product kind of has its own purpose, its own delivery method. So CBD is really good when it's ingested. That's how we keep our endocannabinoid system functioning properly and keep the body in homeostasis. So if there was no budget, really you would want to consume CBD you would consume CBD daily, just like you would protein or your multivitamins to keep your endocannabinoid system functioning. Then let's say you're having an anxiety attack, something's kind of bothering you, you're not feeling so great, you need a little bit more than just your daily dose of CBD. That's when you could step into a lozenge or the vaporizer, or maybe you're having trouble breathing. CBD, through some studies that have been published online, are helping asthma sufferers by increasing oxygen intake. So it kind of all depends on what what ailment you're trying to treat. But really, all delivery methods would be beneficial if all taken together.
All right. So, the onto the vape pen. I just remembered a question that I was supposed to ask you. So I got the white one with the little cartridge that you just drop in. I mean, simple to use. Now, when I inhale, do I basically wait until all the red lights come on and then flash? Is that what they call intake? Like, there's a use? Is that a use?
It's kind of set as a dose, but the lights flashing, I believe it's about 7 to 8 seconds is the draw on the battery before the light starts to flash. I like to not draw until the light flashes, because one thing about the batteries and the vaporizer coils is, as you're drawing, the battery is supplying power to the coil, which is vaporizing the CBD oil. But one of the drawbacks of that is there isn't actually a mechanical chip in there to regulate the temperature of that coil. So the longer you draw in, the hotter it's going to get. So myself personally, I like to take smaller draws, maybe about 2 to 3 seconds, wait a second or two, allow the lights to turn off, then draw 2 or 3 more seconds again, wait, pause a second, then draw a third time, so you're not overheating that coil and keeping the temperatures as low as possible.
Okay, see, as a newbie, no clue about any of that stuff, so I just learned a lot. So that makes so much sense. So I'm definitely going to switch immediately from doing what I was doing. But I do love it, and I have to say I was a hit of a party I went to the other night. Everyone was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And it's,
that's awesome.
yeah, I love it. And, the fact that it doesn't have, that mind state change. I know there's people that do that for their own reasons, and that's all good. But for me, I kind of like my mind the way it is on an everyday basis. I don't really want it to be different. So on that, like, can the people that are nervous about THC be rest assured that they won't get any of those psychoactive properties of THC with your products?
Yes, it will definitely not get you high. The product does contain below 0.3% THC, so it is present in our oil because it is a full spectrum, but they will not get a high from it at all. A lot of times they'll get a different feeling, like I've noticed with the lozenges. Someone will take a lozenge and they'll go, "Whoa, what is that?" And they're like, "I'm not high necessarily," but it takes an effect over them. So they have the opportunity of sensing something different, but it will not be a psychoactive high that's associated with cannabis.
Okay, fair enough. And I mean, I did a couple of the candies, and I definitely felt really good, but by no means not in control of any part of my mental facility. You keep mentioning endocannabinoid system. It's a tongue twister for me. And I have read up on that, do understand it, but you have a great way of explaining things. Do you have a simple way of explaining to my listeners who don't know what you're talking about, what that system does?
Yeah, so the endocannabinoid system is made up of receptors. You have your your CB1 receptor, which is located in the brain, which helps control the central nervous system and a lot of other parts of the body. Then you have your CB2 receptors, which are found throughout the body on cells associated with our immune system. So as we consume cannabinoids, they react with those receptors and help us with mental focus, anxiety, digestion. Basically, everything in our body is regulated by the endocannabinoid system. So if we're consuming cannabinoids, we're keeping everything regulated much more efficiently and our body functioning way more efficiently because we were designed to interact with the cannabis plant, with hemp, with marijuana. Our body was designed for it. So we're just basically retaking in the nutrients that our body was originally designed to uptake before the federal government and a whole bunch of things happened that took it out of our system.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And now I personally take it for anxiety, and my anxiety comes so infrequently that, and it's always surprised me because it's, it might be a big bill paying day of the month or something. I have to say to all the listeners out there that my testimonial kind of blows my mind away because not only does my anxiety go away, but I honestly don't remember why that I had it in the first place. Like a really funny part is that I was texting a friend, oh my gosh, I feel so stressed out. I'm so anxious. I don't know why. It's like, I woke up, in a good mood, but now I'm just like feel shaky. And then I'll take the CBD oil, and 15 minutes later, that same friend will be like, hey, you want me to bring you by something to eat? Or, I know you don't feel good. And I'll be like, what are you talking about? I'm fine, And they'd be like, wait, you just texted me 10 minutes ago that you were losing it. So it really is amazing stuff.
Yeah, it has some amazing toppings. I have kind of a similar story. I was working with a 3-year-old girl who had Epstein-Barr virus that was having trouble walking, and her mother is a K-5 teacher. And her mother came in to get some medicine for her daughter. We do a custom ratio, and she's like, I gotta tell you, I took one of your lozenges the other night, and she's like, I don't do cannabis or hemp, but I'm doing it for my daughter because we got her daughter walking when she wasn't able to walk, which is absolutely amazing. But she was sharing her story with me, and she goes, I've had my taxes on like my living room floor for like 3 months, and I've been putting them off. And she goes, I have no clue what happened to me, but I took your lozenge last night at 11:30. I looked down at my kitchen table and my taxes were done.
That's so
and
awesome.
She's like, it was the weirdest feeling. She's like, I took the lozenge, I saw my taxes, and I just handled it. They've been sitting there, a stack of papers, for months.
Yeah, it's like it takes fear out of the equation.
Yeah.
It just puts you in control and calm, and you get things done.
Yep.
Yeah, ever since then, I do it every day. Just like because I kept looking at it like I had to only do it if I had an issue. But now I really do understand, like you were just saying, it's making a whole system happy in your body that's meant to be fed. And like I always preach, if you give your body the right tools, all the miracles can happen.
So many people are used to going to a doctor or seeking out something when they're in need of it. But they forget about this pre-treatment side of stuff, taking things before you actually need something, and that's one thing CBD is really good for.
Definitely. All right, so I want to touch again so we talked about all the amazing products and some of the testimonials, and I know legality might limit what you can say this is used for, but like we just mentioned, really there's no one that it can't be used for. So what about the safety when it comes to, children and pets and elderly, or it has the rules for that stuff?
So we make a pet product, so it's perfectly fine for pets. The way I kind of look at CBD is like a salad. It's not going to interact with any medications that you're taking. It's not going to have really any negative side effects. It's going to make you healthy. It's going to help your endocannabinoid system function properly. There's not really a lot of side effects or interactions. A lot of our customers are children. We are supported by the Autism Hope Alliance. So we have a huge network of autistic and epileptic children that that we work with that are consuming our product while on other medications as well. And I believe, I don't think we've ever had any reported side effects or negative feedback from any of our customers.
That's awesome. And I know that I have your sign right there next to the case about the autism. And a lot of times these children, no matter where they are on the spectrum, they really can't communicate, their needs. So to give them a lozenge or the oil, what would it hurt? I mean, I look at it like it could only be positive no matter what the result is.
Yeah. So. And people need to Google that and find the information for themselves, because it really is frustrating sometimes knowing how healthy and how beneficial this oil could be, but yet you'll have a customer that'll say, oh, well, my doctor has her on this medication, or, oh, we're doing a chemo treatment and we don't want to interfere with the current treatments that we are doing. Get online. Don't just take our word for it. Get online and you will see that it's not interacting or interfering with any other treatments that are going on. It's actually making them more beneficial.
Well, yeah, David, you and I can have a whole show on, fear and how they're intimidated into their programs. So
yes, I run across it every single day. I get a call from someone with cancer, someone who's dying, and it's so sad. They want to wait to take CBD, and not saying CBD is the miracle cure or is going to cure them, but we do know it is helping in some form, and they're like, oh, my doctor said I can't take anything.
And again, that's usually a blanketed statement because they just have not taken time out of their day to research it. So it's like across the board, don't do it.
Yes, and people need to understand that the doctors aren't researching. We have a pet product that we use on, I use personally, I have 7 animals, and I have a 14-year-old miniature pinscher that was paralyzed. When I was last in Florida, she pinched a nerve, her back legs couldn't walk. I went to our local vet where my mom goes. She has like 60 birds and animals, so this vet knows my family very well. And a lot of our animals are still alive because of the CBD oils when the vets wanted to put them down. And sure enough, this vet wanted to put my 14-year-old dog down, or he said deal with a paralyzed animal. So 3.5 weeks later, my dog is walking, and I left 2 bottles of my pet tincture for this vet. And I followed up, and I'm like, hey, my dog's walking. Have you tried this product yourself? And he goes, no, I threw it away. I'm like, why? And he goes, well, I only use medicine that I was taught to use by the veterinary society or whatever it was, his medical veterinary society. I'm like, I have proof. I use no pharmaceuticals, and my dog is back walking. And we had wheels for her, diapers. Like, she was paralyzed. And she's back walking. Her skin is great. She can jump upstairs. And we have numerous animals documented that it's helped. And this vet will not even try the product, won't even do any research because he wasn't trained by the Medical Veterinary Society.
That is so sad. I really want to go through his dumpster. Oh my gosh. Like, how sad.
The ignorance in some of these doctors.
Oh, well, again, oh gosh, we could go on this for hours. So let's stick to the positive. All right, so great products, lots of different uses. But again, I have to touch back on all your topicals that I will definitely be getting more of, the salves, and the lip balm, and also the muscle rub. Is that what it's called? The rub?
Yes, our Ova muscle rub.
Oh, Ova. Okay, yes. So, tell everyone again, because I preach at my show all the time that, the essential oil or aromatherapy in general, you just can't buy any oil anywhere and expect all the miraculous things you hear about with aromatherapy. And I know, obviously, you're educated in that because you go out of your way to source out the best available, and like you mentioned, very small batches. Can you explain how people would use this topically, and do they do it with the internal as well? Let's say I came to you and I said, oh, I have my shoulder, really a lot of shooting pain up through my neck, and should I just buy a rub or should I buy the oil or both?
So internally is always going to be beneficial. Always take it internally if the budget is there. But on a topical, if you have pain, you always want to localize the treatment that makes it the most effective. And we use organic menthol crystals to get the CBD oil through the skin and actually try and heal the inflammation right at its source, which is underneath the skin. So our Oba Muscle Rub has all organic menthol crystals, camphor oil, cage put, essential oil, peppermint, and clove bud. So all of those are anti-inflammatory, and it helps bring the menthol crystals help bring all the other essential oils into the skin, heat, and treat the inflammation right at the source. Where taking it internally will help with inflammation internally, but your treatment's going to be far more effective if you can apply it directly on the application.
And everything smells so good. I'm usually not a big fan of menthol, but you made that recipe just perfect where it's not overwhelming. It doesn't make your eyes tear like some of the products. And so then that sounds so good and so relaxing. I can feel my muscles already relaxing. But what about the salve then? When would someone use that instead of the rub?
So the salves are really good for skin conditions, for inflammation on the skin. And we use a whole bunch of essential oils in our salve as well. We use cocoa butter, shea butter, sweet almond oil, cold pressed hemp seed oil, organic olive oil infused with arnica flowers, calendula, comfrey leaf, plantain leaf, St. John's wort, and vitamin E with the CBD as well. So
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, a whole bunch of anti-inflammatory properties there, and it's great for skin, skin rashes, cuts, scrapes, burns, eczema, acne, basically anything you see on the skin, feel free to put the salve on it.
Oh my gosh, David, I wish I had more time with you. We are running out. I want to thank you so much. I'm so glad this show is pre-recorded because we're going to blast it all over our YouTube TV station. I'm going to get it playing in the store. And you have a great way of presenting the material, and thank you at such a young age to have this knowledge and to go out of your way to make good products available to all of us. So I will definitely be placing another order soon. So David, thank you, and you have an awesome rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, thanks, David. Take care. Well, everyone, I hope everyone enjoyed this amazing education that we all got. Again, there is a learning curve, so if any of us have made incorrect choices, now is our chance to correct them. Everything in life, we learn and move on and keep journeying forward. So don't forget to breathe, drink that healthy water, and I'll talk to you guys next week.
What's the phone number at Nutrition World?
772-464-3598. And the listeners that mention the show, 10% off on their CBD oil.
You've been listening to Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World. US 1 Orange Avenue in Fort Pierce, in the Arcade Building, across from City Hall.